Hello everyone. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at an article from Boston.com. Now, this was published on July 31st. It's written by Holly Raymer. And before I get into the title, I just want to call bullshit on it. Unruly tourists straining New Hampshire town budget during pandemic. See, I'm calling bullshit because you literally have, all right, you're in the White Mountains. They already planned for this. All right, you have the Kangamangas Highway, like this picture here with like the river. People like pull off to the side of the Kangamangas and then they go down and they swim in the river, and you know, they go camping along the river and other places, or other rivers in the area or lakes and that. They planned for a normal summer on the note of like the influx of people. They haven't had the influx of people that they've had. But look at the title here. Unruly tourists straining New Hampshire town budget during pandemic. You have less people showing up there, and you would have been dealing with all the drunks and all these people blowing off steam and everything else otherwise. It might not have been as bad, but you would have had a hell of a lot more of them. But somehow, even with that, you've managed to piss through your budget? I call bullshit. We're seeing that people visiting us right now are a little more unruly than they were in the past. So basically, he's trying to blame it on the people showing up being more unruly on why they pissed through their budget, which I don't think they pissed through their budget. Either they reallocated funds or they're holding on to the money and they're being really friggin' shady, okay? Because Conway should have more than enough money. They're a tourist destination, a tourist trap, as it were, all right? People go to Conway to go to the White Mountains because it's convenient to go further in or whatever else. It's convenient for them to get to the, you know, with the Kangamangas, you know, to go to the river and go tubing or, you know, sliding down falls and shit like that, like people do, into the pools on it. Not to mention, North Conway is basically next door, and you have all the outlet shopping and everything else. It's a tourist destination. It's a tourist trap. All right. And they don't have the numbers of people showing up, but yet they piss through their budget. Likely fucking story, or you're strapped right now. Bullshit. And as someone from New Hampshire, I had to call this out. Because this is ridiculous. I know this doesn't apply to a lot of people outside this area. All right. And to me, you know, New Hampshire's supposed to be the live free die state. The further north you go, the more they adhere to that, the more that they have that less of a masshole influence going on. You know, less of the liberal Maynard influence going on. You know, the socialist Vermonter less influence going, you know, well, because they're kind of more center, but you know, the idea is because Maine is over by the southern border, less of that, less of mass. You know, maybe a little of the Vermonter thing, but it's not really like the socialist thing. It's more like the, you know, they might be hippies, but they're live free or die hippies. Anyway, let's get into this here. All right, this is from the New Hampshire AP. Tourists acting like sailors on shore leave are straining town services in Conway, New Hampshire, the town manager said Thursday, and seeking federal assistance during the human malware, which I find funny that they're looking to have their hand out. I just find that funny for some reason. Tom Holmes was among several municipal, county, and state officials who joined U.S. Rep. Chris Pappas for an online discussion about the next round of virus relief aid being debated in Congress. He said the influx of summer visitors to his town has led to an increase in everything from road rage incidents to dangerous fires set by people camping in off-limits areas, and the town has doubled its spending on trash collection and cleaning at recreational areas, he said. So yeah, they also have campgrounds and everything else. All right, which a bunch of these campgrounds there are federally run, but you have privately owned ones. You might even have some that are by the town, but in these rec areas, and they're like, well, that's another reason. These campgrounds in that area, because like the federal parks campgrounds and stuff like that, there's multiple there. They're probably closed down. So you have people in off limits areas camping that have accidentally set fire to stuff. Well, you know what? Why don't you talk about the federal government reopening up the campgrounds and shit like that, and make it so that these people can go to the actual campsites? And then this idea of road rage incidents, you're telling me when the place is packed during the peak of a normal summer, you don't have as many road rage incidents? Bullshit. This is such like see-through transparent shit. It's not even funny. You have less people coming to your town. Yet you have more road rage incidents. Call them bullshit. And people camp illegally in off-limits areas. Well, not necessarily illegally, but in off-limits areas all the time up there. Besides the point, besides like with this, what's going on now. You have accidental fires going on for other reasons as well. I mean, this is so funny. And this idea of the town spending double its collection and cleaning at recreational areas, I find that a bit bullshit, because you'd have more people to go into those areas. So I'm not believing double. I want to see the numbers. I just don't buy this. We're seeing that the people visiting us right now are a little more unruly than they were in the past, he said. Being a Navy veteran, I think I know the reason. It is as if they were out to sea for a long time and all of a sudden they're in port and letting off steam. It's created some local fear and anger. I'm just not buying this. It's not a shore leave thing. You have less people. See, they're hyping this up. They're looking at the money. They're salivating. They want a cut of federal money. And because of the size of New Hampshire, the towns and everything else, they got, as they feel, screwed out of it, which you'll see. Oh. Well, the state passed on some of its initial $1.25 billion in funding, some of its initial $1.25 billion in funding to communities. No New Hampshire town, city, or county got money directly from the federal government because their populations fall below the threshold for such help. See, that's where it is. Pappas backs a House measure that would provide $1.5 billion for New Hampshire towns, cities, and counties. New Hampshire really isn't hurting right now. This is complete horse shit. All right, he's talking about Conway, fucking New Hampshire. Okay, White Mountains, all right? Getting less people because of the tourist situation. That's what I think he's seeing is they're getting less people now, and they're going to have a budget shortfall. So they're looking at the fact of they don't like that. So what they're doing is they're trying to make up for it now. Because I'll tell you right now, if anyone should be financially hurting, okay, on the way that they're talking, it should be like the town, like Portsmouth, okay, which has Maine border jumpers and Mass border jumpers going to for tax-free shopping and shit. All right, should be like Nashua, New Hampshire, same type of situation. Salem, New Hampshire, same type of situation. All right, Manchester, New Hampshire, city, not that far away from the border. About 30 minutes or so north of it. All right. Nashua and Manchester are big cities, okay? They have, like, a lot of shit that's been shut down. You have the Nashua City Council being, like, complete and total spurgs with, like, mask mandates and everything else, okay? And saying, and basically the liberals on their city council basically like, oh, well, Sununu, he just doesn't know. He's just, like, playing it like he's an idiot because he's like, well, allow the individual businesses to do it, as opposed to the town mandating it. Let the business decide. If they're wearing, like on the note of like a restaurant, like wearing masks with capacity and stuff like that, there were some guidelines, but he was like, don't need to go more than that. You have like Salem, okay? I mean, they tend to be libertarian, conservative, surprisingly, with how close they are to the Mass border. But they have all the border jumpers as well. And these border jumpers, all right, you look at where the high case numbers in New Hampshire are. It's every city where massholes cross the fucking border to do tax-free shopping. Not an exaggeration. It's every city where they do that. So you don't see Salem, Nashua, Manchester, Portsmouth. All right, you don't see those places saying, oh, fuck me. We're having to shell out all this extra money. North Conway, who already budgeted their year for this year, has less of an influx of people than they originally had, and they're crying poverty? Makes absolutely no sense. This is ridiculous. So of course he's gonna, which Pap is backing this. I don't know. Anyone who's ever had to balance a budget knows that with less money coming in and more money going out, that doesn't create a sustainable picture for state and local government, he said. And that's why Congress has to act. Okay, so now you're going to admit, all right, this is not a direct admission, but he's basically admitting they're worried about next year. This has nothing to do with this year. This has everything to do with the money that they're not getting right now. So they're going to try to play it up like they're spending more money now to collect money because they're actually taking in less money. And they want to make sure for next year that they can keep their fat padded budget. At least you can be somewhat honest. Holmes agreed. Oh wait, that was Pappas who said that? Holy shit, I misread that the first time. I apologize. Well, still, if Pappas said that, that's still bullshit. And he's looking at the fact of that himself with that. So Holmes won't even admit it. Anyway. When you're in a situation like this and an unprecedented pandemic occurs, we need to react fast. We need to be able to turn on a dime. We're going to need a lot of dimes to deal with this, Holmes said. If we're allowed the direct funds, we'll have the flexibility, us here in the trenches, to put them where they're needed. What, like in the pockets of your fucking, like, people, the selectmen and their buddies and shit like that? See, this is what they don't want. They don't, because it would be carte blanche. See, I'm surprised. Like, I'm sorry, I misread that, and up until it just clicked with me, because it doesn't look like they're talking about Pappas saying this, okay? I mean, it just says Pappas backs a House measure. So you can see where I made an honest mistake there. I thought they were still talking about freaking Holmes. But I mean, getting back to this with what Holmes is saying here, the state has basically gone through and said, this is what you can spend the money on, this is what you can't. Show us what you're spending it on. And they haven't liked that fact because the towns want to be able to just take the money and do what the fuck they want with it and spend it on whatever they want. Like Conway, I got a feeling Conway, there's going to be some shady shit going on if they just get that carte blanche, because you got a guy here who's crying poverty right now when they've already budgeted for this year to deal with more people, to deal with, more hustle and bustle and everything else. And he's like, oh, well, it's costing us more money to deal with less people, which is completely makes no sense. I mean, this is ridiculous. This is why I had to call it out. This is complete, like, con job sham going on right here. Anyway, I've covered this well enough. I'm going to leave things here. If you liked this video, depending on where you are watching it, please give it an upvote or thumbs up. If you want to know when new content of mine hits the internet, don't forget to subscribe to one or more of my social media or video accounts listed here. Also, with YouTube, don't forget to ring that bell. You can find all of my video content on both BitChute and YouTube. This may not be the case with other places I upload to, but I will try to minimize this happening. You are always welcome to interact with me at any of these sites on the list, so feel free to do so. If you have anything you want me to cover in a video, when it comes to news or current events, send it right along to me. I will try to do my best to cover it. As always, thank you for watching.